One.
Good afternoon. This is Beau from BEAU'D Not Broken. Hey, I've got a special guest here in the Beau Cave, and I'm really grateful that he was able to make it. And we're going to chat for a little while here in just a minute. Want to thank everybody out there for watching each and every day. Seems like each and every day we get more and more viewers live and afterwards. Remember, we post these to YouTube and other various sites. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're all BEAU'D, not broken, and that's we're going to talk each and every show on faith, courage, and endurance, and how we're going to talk to people and listen to their stories and part of their journeys and how they, great successes, great failures, whatever it might be, and that's the kind of the tenet of the show is having people come on and it being low key. And I want to thank everyone out there that has asked or either said they were interested in coming on the show. We're filling up in like 2 weeks. We've got 2 weeks already, which is great. Keep it coming, and really appreciate it. Anyway, on with what we're doing. Mark Shurtleff. I asked Mark to come and talk. Mark and I have known each other for probably longer than he probably knows, but we have been, I think, battle buddies, and obviously he's going through a battle right now, probably several battles, but that's not why we're here. I asked him to come because I know a little bit of his story. I know a little bit about him, but I wanted people to know, I wanted people to get to know Mark in a different light and not, as the former Attorney General and all the things that he did. And if I may add, all the amazing positive things that Mark did over the years can sometimes be diminished or blanket put over them. We need to remind people, and I need to remind people that for 12 years, right? 12 years, I don't think it kind of coincided with my administrative duties in different departments. I don't think there was, the police departments and the Attorney General were together on so many different projects throughout the state that it went unnoticed. And Mark was always everywhere. He was the cop's cop. He was a guy that was always out there trying to do something that would better society. And so anyway, that's the Mark Shurtleff that publicly I want you to know about. But today I've got Mark here, and I just want you to just tell us who Mark is. Tell us a little bit about Mark. And again, we've had people talk about their some current challenges they've been facing, or some successes, or how they've moved on from things. We've talked about parenting, you're a grandparent, and all those kinds of things. So whatever comes to mind, throw it out there.
That's a great intro. I take you on the road with me.
You got it.
Once all this stuff is over, which hopefully will be soon, I will take you on the road with me, let you introduce. But I know I can return the compliment. I think actually I remember getting to know you when I was county commissioner.
Yeah.
Because exactly. I was over criminal justice for Salt Lake County. I think you probably were Salt Lake at that time, maybe?
I was.
At that time?
Yeah.
I just remember, thinking that, if you ever see a poster of law enforcement officer, they use Beau up there, because, he was, you are still that guy. You've stayed in better shape than I have. Oh. You put the uniform on. I remember right before you hurt your leg on the Harley, we were going to do an exhibition boxing match to raise money for you or for something. I think it was for some. Yeah, I was worried. I decided to wreck my heart so I wouldn't have to get in the ring with you, because I knew you'd probably take me out. Yeah. Yeah, we were going to do that. We were talking about those guys at one of those radio stations they wanted to put together. But anyway, yeah, it's been good, and I have been absolutely dedicated to public safety and criminal justice most of my career. I was as a prosecutor in the United States Navy. I worked with it was that time NIS, now it's NCIS, but I've always had a great love for justice and doing the right thing, and I believe in justice so much that I had it tattooed on my arm. You probably didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought.
You got it on your gun?
I got it right there. It's up there on my shoulder.
Up on your,
Big old lady justice.
On your tri, on your delt. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and so she's there with her sword and her scale of justice, and because to me that was was all about the equal opportunity, equal access, equal protection of the laws. And you always, epitomize that, and I always believed in that not only do we have a responsibility in law enforcement, obviously, number one is to protect people, but at the same time, protect people's rights, including that person you may be having to arrest or prosecute. So it's been a big part of it. Now, since I got the tattoo, you know, when I got it, I looked at it and told my tattoo artist, like, she looks pissed off. I mean, literally, she's got a blindfold, but her face is red, and she's like, pissed off. I'm like, why'd you make her pissed off? He goes, I don't know, I just did. Well, now I see why, because sometimes you got to fight, and sometimes it doesn't go right. It turns around on you, and you got to fight for justice. And I kind of got that, you know, starting to realize now how many people have been treated unfairly, and I certainly believe that's my case, and it was definitely your case. And so I'm glad she's pissed off, because I'm a little pissed off, frankly.
Well,
right
and
now,
I'm glad you have the resources to. I know they're hard to come by, but you have the visibility, you have the resources. Since we're talking about it, that's a major challenge in your life right now.
Well,
that's
it is. I mean, absolutely.
What's holding you in there? What's keeping you? I mean, I know for darns there are days when you probably just want to go. I need to find an island somewhere and go pack my kids and my grandkids, and
you know,
I'm out of here.
It's been worse than that even. Now, there was times when, you know, right after I dedicated my life to public service. I, you know, came out of my time in the Attorney General's office, and before that I was an assistant AG and so forth, and you don't make a lot of money that way, right? I mean, we did okay, but certainly not prepared to then go out with all the, you know, the growing family and the debts that we generated. A lot had to do with my younger daughter, who went through suicide attempts, and we had her in and out of facilities, and my cancer, my year and a half worth of surgeries to save my leg. I had great insurance, but still ends up costing a lot for medication and everything else. So, you know, I finally finished my public service. So
contrary to popular belief, you didn't make $250–400 million a year to.
No, this is one. You know, if things they say about me are true, I was one dumb criminal, because I ended up with nothing, worse than nothing. I mean, actually, there were times when, as Attorney General, I had a person hand me a $10,000 check after I gave but I don't feel good about it.
Right.
Or be on boards and be paid for that. I just know, you know what, the state pays me, that's my job. And I was committed to it, like you were in law enforcement, and you could probably be the first one to say what that does to the family. When you're absolutely committed, it doesn't matter what time of day or night, weekends, you're teaching, it takes its toll, doesn't it?
It took its toll on my marriage, and it took a toll on my family and, you know, my boys, and I tried my best. It took its toll on my ex-wife.
It does that. It did that in my situation. But then when you come out, it's finally like, okay, I get this offer for $600,000 a year, great firm in D.C. You get to do, you know, work with attorneys general that I've worked with in the past, and some great clients. And then this thing hits, and you know, they don't want to. Suddenly, you learn who your friends are, right? And who's going to stick by you. And you know, the firm doesn't want negative publicity, so that job goes out the door. And with this hanging over my head, everything becomes more difficult, obviously, to make a living, let alone the fact that, you know, you have $500,000–600,000 in attorney's fees to get through this.
Right.
And so you do learn several things. One is that to get justice, it does cost money.
It does.
And that's one thing you learn, and it's unfortunate.
And if you don't have it, and you're in the system, unfortunately, you got to plea, or you've got to worry about going to court and going to prison.
It is. You know, sometimes money does buy justice, and that's sad, and that's something I want to focus on in the future, because there are those who, I certainly can't afford it, but we'll find a way to get it done. And I think once we get everything dismissed, there will be a way to finish that up. But that's one thing. The second thing you learn in going through whatever trial is, and particularly this one, is, like I said, you find out who your friends are. People that you employed, people that you moved up within your own ranks, chief deputies, other people in law enforcement you supported throughout all the time. Suddenly they just run for cover. Legislators, and that's heartbreaking sometimes. But you know, what you do learn is it's really mostly the rank and file people. Maybe you figured this out. Just common people who know you or knew of you, who will approach you on the street or at the mall or at the 7-Eleven or whatever, and just say, hey, don't worry about that stuff. You know, thanks for the job you did. It probably happens to
you every day.
It's cool.
It happens to me every day, and I count my blessings for that. I'm glad that's happening to you, because
it is. It's what it does keep me
going.
going.
And they are sincere. They don't have to walk across Walmart and spot you and hug you and say, they don't have to do that. So it is sincere.
It is. They chase me down in parking lots.
Yeah.
You always kind of wonder, you know. In fact, one guy was in a 7-Eleven up in Morgan County, after a funeral of some of my family, and I was in there. This guy comes in, he's just got greasy hair and a dirty gold cap, you know, and he's like, you know, he's like, are you Mark Shurtleff? I'm like, why?
Yeah, no.
No, you look just like him. Well, I say, I get that a lot. You know, people say that, you know, and he's like, I said, why? He goes, he was a damn good attorney. If you see him, you tell him. He winks at me, you tell him. And I'm like, well, that's me. So, right? But I mean, that is so cool.
That's awesome.
And that does, when you're feeling bowed, when you're feeling down, when you're like, you know, why? Why did I do that? Why did I serve all that time, and it affected my family, and I gave myself 100% to it, and now it's all, it appears trashed, you know. It could be. You could take that and just go, I'm done, you know.
Right.
I've been mistreated, and but that keeps you going. One of the things it does. People, other people, good people. You know, I noticed that when I went through cancer.
Right.
You know, that was a challenge, obviously, when you sit down and they say
I'll never forget seeing you in that a couple times in your high. And I know a lot of people visited you, but I'll never forget the one time I came and you know, we had a quick embrace, and I looked at you and you looked at me, and I go, okay, I'll take off. It was like you were gonna get sick or something was going on. It was like, you know, and I just went, my goodness gracious, you know.
That's a kick in the, it's a gut punch, I guess. I don't know what this broadcast is rated.
You can say whatever you want. Did you I mean, during that time as well, I mean, where did you question, you know, well, are you going to give me this, good Lord, for a
absolutely.
reason?
You definitely question.
You know, let's have a chat, probably many times, right?
Yeah, well, you recall this was just, you know, I had the motorcycle accident in 2007, 18 months, 11 surgeries, nearly lost my leg, and I get that repaired finally. I'm walking again, and then it's like within a year, before a year's out, cancer, and you have 50-50 chance of being alive in 5 years, right? And so absolutely, you know, I felt like, you know, God, I feel like my public service was my way of serving you.
Right.
Where are you now? You know, why am I having to go through this? You ask all that. But again, in that situation, both those situations, I found that other people, you know, that's one of the things that gets you through, what other people say and do. When it comes to sickness, in particular, cancer, it didn't matter what people's political beliefs were. I mean, I heard from everybody that the Democratic Party, you know, sent me a get well card. Mm-hmm. I have friends who
Donald Dunn probably at the time.
Donald Dunn, yeah, we became friends. I mean, people in those situations, they forget everything. I mean, religious boundaries disappear.
Right.
I had Jewish friends who said my name they put it in the wall in Jerusalem. I had Muslim friends praying for me at the mosque, Mormons temple, everyone, Catholic masses. Even had a Navajo lady come say they did a blessing way for me. I mean, it was like, wow, that is so cool. That's cool. And I always thought, well, why can't that happen when it comes to politics or when people are facing other difficulties other than sickness?
Right.
Sometimes that just goes out the door.
That's true. It's
very
true.
It does the support of others. And so what you're doing, you know, with the program, I know you're out there helping people in so many ways. Your support of me, that is, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling on your last leg, and when you actually, you know, there was a time, frankly, when I was in D.C., when I'd lost my job, all this was coming down on me. And I never thought, because I worked with suicide prevention for many years. I'm on a national
Thanks for bringing that up.
Youth Suicide
Finish your thought. Sorry.
Prevention Board. I thought I would never get to that point.
Did you ever get to that point? I did.
I did. There
are times. You know.
Absolutely, and you're thinking, you know, it'd be better off for others.
Yeah.
My family, you know, just to end all of this, they can get along. I'm just done.
You can see why people think about it.
I absolutely think it. And I always used to say, you know, it's really selfish for people and who take their lives, but you get to a point, and I was on a subway platform, and I'm thinking I was really, really depressed, and I just thought, you know, everybody knows I can't walk anyway because of my surgeries. It would be so easy to just topple in front of that train. And I was right there, and I thought, you know, I have a really good Jewish friend in D.C. Do a lot of things with her, and she used to be the director of the National Association of Attorneys General. I didn't know what to do. I called her, and I said, Mom, I said, man, I'm standing by this platform.
Wow.
She goes, Mark, stay put. I'm on my way. So, thank God for Lynn,
Wow.
Lynn Ross, because, you know, I don't know. I might be here today, and I'm glad I am, because now, you know, I want to live. I want to live. I want to be with my family. I want to see these little ones grow. I'm raising a little redhead granddaughter, who's my whole life right now, a lot of my life, and you know, there's so much to do, so much to accomplish, and so I'm so grateful for that. So, if anything to tell people, you know, that you can do a lot with what's in here, that matters a lot, and I think it's mattered in my case, certainly in yours.
Mm-hmm.
But still, even the toughest, biggest badass can get to that point, and it takes other people to, if they're there to back you up when other people run away.
It takes a person to not fear that or look at you and say you're crazy. It's takes somebody to look at you and say, let's talk through this. Let's really talk through this.
Absolutely.
Because for me, and looks like for you as well, it was your children or your grandchildren. I mean, there's still days there's still days where I go, can I get out of this hole? Can I get out of it? Mm-hmm. There's got to be a way I can get out of this hole somehow, some way.
Well, that's not breaking, I guess, when you're down. So
Yeah.
that's why I love your theme. Stuff that's kind of helped me through. I love poetry. I love you know, ancient heroes, people who are these mythical figures for me.
You've written books too.
You know, I wrote the life story of a slave who, I mean, talk about someone who would want to give up on life. You raised a slave. He's illiterate because it's illegal to learn how, and he gets up to a point where he actually wins his freedom. He gets friends to help him go to court, and he wins his freedom. I mean, to think about this as a man, and you have a wife and 2 little girls, and you know that if you don't win your freedom, they're going to be put on the auction block and horrific. You know, you don't even want to think about what happens to those girls after that. Your own daughters. Yeah, you're not a human being. And to win your freedom from a court, and suddenly you're a man. I am a man. I have a job. These guys give me the key to their store so I can lock up when I clean. What would that mean to someone who's always been treated like a beast of burden? And that was Dred Scott, right? Mm-hmm. And he had that freedom for 1.5 years, but it went up to appeals court, and it was in the 1800s, very controversial in Missouri, and 2 pro-slavery judges got elected, and they overturned it. So they hauled him back into slavery. Would you give up at that point? I mean, my gosh, what are you going to do? He's like, can I go somewhere else? And they're like, do you want to go to the United States Supreme Court? So he went that route. Another 7 years, 14 years fighting for his freedom for himself and his wife and his kids, and he just never would break. But again, there's someone he couldn't have done it without some friends. Right. Some white people who believed in him and got behind and supported him. They're kind of back to that theme of other people had you know. But if it hadn't been, you know, this backbone of steel, you know, he'd have broken a long time ago and just given up like so many did. Mm-hmm. But he changed by not giving up. He changed for everybody because he lost his Supreme Court case, and basically the judge, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court said, "You're not a man." You know, when Thomas Jefferson wrote, "All men are created equal," that's not you. You're black.
Right. Right.
In fact, the Constitution says white man has the right to own you, your property. This is the Supreme Court.
And it's appalling that we still have that today. We still have that
We
today.
do, but the good news out of that story was Abraham Lincoln came along and he hated that decision. He's like, it's the Supreme Court. I'm a lawyer. It's the end. No, it's not. What can I do? I'll be president of the United States and I'll change things.
Right.
So because of Dred Scott standing up to this and never backing down, Abraham Lincoln's president and the whole world's changed. That can happen, right?
Yeah, it can.
And it will, and it does.
Mark, your finest moment in your life. You have a couple of finest moments.
I've had a lot of finest moments.
Professionally, I think.
Professionally is what you're talking about.
First, yeah. You
know, every time you save like a child who's been abused. Young women who are being preyed upon. Frankly, doing what I did and going after Warren Jeffs and protecting people who believed in him but were really being victimized by him because of his position in the polygamy world. I'm very proud of those. I'm proud of you know, what we did with meth labs working together. I mean, it was a big, when I came into office in actually 2000, we led the nation.
It was,
you know,
it was huge per capita.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember just in little old South Salt Lake popping 2 or 3. We had more than anybody else, 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah, it was huge
You
there.
know.
And you guys went in there probably in those early days without any kind of protection.
Of course.
You didn't realize how toxic it was.
Of course.
So I was very proud when I formed a foundation to treat sick meth cops. We raised several $1 million. We treated over 100 cops.
Yeah, that was you and was it Sandra?
Yeah.
Sandra Lucas, wasn't it? Yeah, that was pretty cool. I knew a lot of folks that went through that, and a lot of good that did.
No, they swore.
good
I finally
did.
went through it because I'd been through chemo and
Right,
kind
and
of drug
toxins and all that stuff.
sat through it with a big old.
Everybody thought it was kind of hocus pocus. Some of the folks.
You know, yeah, they did.
You
In
know?
fact, I thought so.
Yeah.
You can actually sweat out toxins.
Right.
So I went to actually travel to New York because they were doing this for all the rescue workers, cops and firefighters who had been breathing in from ground zero.
Right,
And were
9/11
so
stuff.
sick they respiratory illnesses. And I talked to these cops who you guys are sometimes somewhat cynical.
No.
These New York cops are like
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit in the sauna and get better. That's bullshit. But I'll try it since you're paying for it.
Yeah. As long as there's.
And they will come out and they'll say, I don't know how it worked, but I couldn't walk upstairs without falling down, without able to breathe, and now I can put my inhaler away, and I'm good. So I thought, well, we can work there, I can work for these guys. And it did. A lot of guys went back to work because of it. So, serving those who served us,
Right.
I was real proud of that.
How about your family? Some finest moments, or one that comes to mind? Just one of those moments that probably just. I mean, there's probably many of them. I know I've had them, so it might be a stupid question, but those moments that just I think tears of joy, or could be tears.
I mean,
of
probably yesterday last night when my daughter who's living with us and brought this little River, my little redheaded 23-month-old who I'm Papa, and when she brings her home late and she perks up and wants to hug me, what could be better than that?
Not a care in the
Not
world.
a care in the world. You are everything to me, in her mind, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. I mean, this whole thing, we've had issues with the family, but one thing I say, we pulled together. They've all pulled and gotten behind me in this, and my little 19-year-old Annie, who was only 17 when
Everything.
4 men with full body armor, if FBI agents came in with weapons, pointed at her, screaming at her to get out of the bathroom. That devastated. I'll never forget that moment when I was in D.C. and I get a call with her.
Right.
Just this horrible.
Yeah, and,
What, honey,
and
what?
helpless. You're
Absolutely
helpless.
Yeah. I can't do. What can I do? And to think about that and what, after giving all my support in law enforcement, they go to my house and do that to my daughter. Dang. But she's a tough little cookie, and she's come back. She goes to court with me. She stares
That's
down
right,
those
I've seen her.
officers. She'll
I've
stare
seen
them
her.
down.
I've seen her.
They have so much fascinated with her. When we got some of the evidence, they have copied every picture she's ever posted on Twitter.
Oh, really?
When she was a minor, it's like really.
Nice. Very nice.
But she doesn't care.
She's
She's like an example to me of just really in your face, and she'll just stare at these FBI agents when they're in court. And she's like 5'3",
I remember
soaking wet, right?
I remember being with you, somewhere, and she
Probably,
was there.
yeah. She's that way. So that's awesome. Family, friends.
Family kept you in the ring. I mean, because you're in the ring. I think we're all in the ring.
Absolutely.
But advice, just advice to people.
Dude, just hold on. That's one of my favorites. Like, BEAU'D, not broken. It's, as I said, I like poetry and stuff. You're probably familiar with "If" by Rudyard Kipling.
Oh.
I used to pay, my scouts. I'd say, I'll give you $50 if you can memorize that.
Yes. And
live it, believe in it, right?
Yeah, and if you're the one in the arena, you're doing everything there is that, and then everybody's looking at you like, everybody wants to be doing what you're doing, but they don't have the balls enough to do what you're doing, that kind of a thing.
So I just do that. There's a couple of stands in there just like, and to answer that question, it's like near the end, it's something like, if you can force your heart and soul and your sinews to serve their turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will to say hold on, right? Just hold don't back down. If you can bear to hear people take the truths you've spoken and twist them, or see everything you gave your life to broken, and the phrase goes, then stoop and build them up with worn out tools. You ever feel like that?
Yes.
Everything I gave my life to, you've seen it broken.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't give up. You stoop and you build them up with worn out tools. You go from there and recreate and serve people. And that's what you're doing, man. I appreciate it. I want to do that too.
And that's what I think, and you epitomize that. Not that I think everybody that's going to be on this program will epitomize that, but I think that I've always thought that there was one day when I came to the fact that faith in myself and that faith that builds that courage to go out and take that next step or build that boat or lift somebody else up and the endurance to continue on every single day is a balance that I think we can help each other kind of help each other grow that balance in a sense that helps us through these challenges, and even helps us remind us when we are successful that let's not make this mistake the same time. Or if another wave comes my way, I'm either going to ride it or I'm going to duck under that thing or whatever I'm going to do. It's kind of right there in front of you.
Absolutely. And everybody eventually goes through that. I felt myself pretty blessed most of my life. Things went right. I never really had the challenge, man. From whatever, in my religious beliefs, in my professional life, in my family life. I mean, it was all smooth sailing, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom, and
right.
Uppercut. And that's when you're like, wait a minute. That's when it really and I've had a number of friends, frankly, recently in the past year or two, who faced one sort of challenge or the other, and they did give up.
Mm-hmm.
And it now breaks my heart that they felt that alone, that there was no way out.
Right. And there is, and that's why we're doing this. And you talked about friends, and you talked about support, and you talked about, that faith in yourself. And I am so grateful that you came. I think you're gonna. This was great. I think this was great media. I'm not just blowing smoke. I think this was great media, and it was great help. It's a great help to people, and it's not about me. It's about these people that come and will tell you their stories of how they've helped themselves and how their families have helped them, other people that have helped them, when maybe other people have walked away from them and just kind of given up with that, without that patience.
Jennifer Weaver piped in and said both of your years of public service matters. Thank you. That was from Jennifer.
Well,
Weaver.
Thank her. I wish you the very best. I know you, and I know your strategy, and I know it's genuine, and you will prevail. You will prevail through this not little storm, but big storm. I think. I think
I appreciate it. I will. Yeah, I will. With good support and friendship, and ultimately, I do believe justice in the end prevails. And if it doesn't, it's not the end.
Right? That's true. That's true. That's true.
It is not the end. There's so much good that can be done. So how do you afford this? How do you? Don't you need some help?
Yes. I need some help out there. I need some sponsors.
Get some sponsors.
I need some sponsors.
You say it costs a couple $100?
Yeah. We're each session. Each session, well, $100 a week, and that's for each session, and we do 4 sessions. So I think that's kind of a deal.
That is a great
deal. That's kind of a deal.
Well,
and so
I hope people look at this and get involved, and you count me in on that.
Thank you very much. It's a different kind of what's going on in the regular media world. It's not, it's a lot different than what.
No spin.
No spin.
Straight up.
And honesty. Thanks for coming, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, none of this was canned. None of this was scripted. It was just Mark and myself. And I want to thank Christian Jensen and Connor Jensen and Linda Jensen for the support today. And again, thank Mark. I want to thank you guys. Again, if you're, please tune in. Please, again, any ideas, questions, comments, send them out. And if you're looking for coaching, you're looking for physical fitness coaching, or just all around a little bit of advice. I don't know everything, but I hope you'll go to my website, Beau'D.com. Thanks.